Welcome back to Analytical Strategy. We have just seen the finale of Survivor Winners at War, and oh my god, he's actually done it. Tony has crowned himself as the King of Survivor, becoming the second two-time winner, taking out the $2 million prize. You may have just seen the best individual game in Survivor history by Tony, never receiving one single vote to make it to the final three, and then obtaining 12 of 16 votes to win the game. When we think of the best games of all time, we think of Kim in One World, we think of Rob in Redemption Island, and how well they were able to completely control the game without really being in jeopardy of going home, and really being able to cruise to the end. Tony basically did this season, being able to somehow fly completely under the radar, not attract any attention, and really dominate the competition. But a key reason that separates this from Kim and Rob is that Tony did it against all winners, the best players to ever play the game, and he made it look easy. I can't fathom how difficult that would be to do. Nobody thought a player with such a high profile would be able to make it deep in a season like this, but he did it, and he did it with ease, and I think this probably has to make Tony the best player in the history of Survivor after taking it out. Along with Tony's dominant performance, we really need to give a large amount of credit to Sarah in being his partner in crime through the entirety of the game. Sarah for me has also skyrocketed to one of the best players ever, and if she beat Tony in that final fire-making challenge, my guess is she would have won the game and would have potentially been the best player of all time. These two together are potentially one of, if not the best duo we have ever seen in the game, and you could really see, especially in the finale, how close they actually are as friends outside of the show. And truly, they really would have been happy seeing either one of them win the game. Seriously, how on earth did Tony do it? The previous persona of Tony was an extremely sporadic guy, constantly looking for idols and over-strategizing in order to capitalize on the opposition. This season as Tony entered the game, he was put on house arrest, not leaving the camp and really relying on his social connections in order to proceed in the early stages. He would have been in the top 5 targets leading into the game, so he really had to change his strategy to change people's perceptions of this persona. In order to make his mind that doesn't stop ticking calm, he was using other tools in the game to enhance his social relationships. Building a ladder, as awful and dangerous as it was extremely funny and uplifted the people around him. He really seemed to focus on genuine connections and bonds to progress in the game this time. Being put on the same tribe as Sarah from the get-go also really helped him, but it also could have hindered him if they played it incorrectly. They were able to keep their distance in the early stages, knowing through their pre-game alliance and friendship that they were always 100% loyal to one another. Compare this to, say, Jeremy and Natalie, who were also rock-solid friends in real life. They were too close on the show as well, ultimately causing Natalie to be the first boot. So you really have to give a lot of credit to Tony and Sarah for how well they were able to keep this extremely close bond and friendship on the down low for the majority of the game. As the game progressed, Tony was able to go back to his old tactics which worked so well in Cagayan, by producing the single best individual episode the game has ever seen to date. He was able to find an idol, stop himself from being extorted by using his social game that he was building up to this moment, to obtain fire tokens from 3 people in the game. He was able to win immunity and orchestrate a blindside which took out Sophie and her idol out of the game, with 4 of 9 votes, and this tightened his allegiance with Sarah. He was able to use his spyness to infiltrate conversations from the skies to be able to obtain crucial information moving forward. Tony continued to win the following 2 immunities to keep him safe, and he used his idol as leverage to protect him when he wasn't able to win the challenge. Even in the finale when Tony used his idol to protect himself, he was the only one that had the true read of the situation from his alliance of Ben, Sarah and himself, and if his alliance had listened to his strategy to take out Denise from the get-go, Ben and Tony could have held their idols for one more tribal. His read on people was spot on every time throughout this whole season. He was then able to win another immunity, being one short of the record for the most ever in a season. He then had to take out his right-hand woman in Sarah in an extremely close $2 million fire-making challenge. Once he had made it to the final 3, it seemed pretty clear-cut that he was going to take the prize. He was able to get there without receiving one single vote all season. If someone told me prior to this season that Tony would not receive one vote all season against him, I would have thought he must have been medevaced in the first episode or something, because the target he had after his first win is as big as any, which just adds to how ridiculously impressive this win actually is. In addition to Tony's win, we saw some other really high-level moves throughout this season, from Denise taking out Sandra with a double idol play, to Boston Rob's failed buddy system on steroids, where 4 people were able to stay in a shelter all day and still make the power play against one of the greats. We saw the implementation of fire tokens, which allowed for a social dynamic we have yet to see on Survivor. Whilst I personally am not the biggest fan of the Edge of Extinction, I think fire tokens could work if they were tweaked slightly, so it'll be interesting to see if they stay in the remainder of the show for future seasons to come. But overall, there were so many great moves, and it really showed why these plays are considered the best in the game. In addition to the strategic component of the game, we also saw some really emotional moments. From the family visit, the biggest of all time for both the cast in the game and those on the edge of extinction. We saw Ben voluntarily allow Sarah to vote him out of the game, to allow Sarah a better chance at winning that $2 million prize. It was such a selfless act, and we see a lot of people hating on Ben, but this really shows how nice of a person he actually is. We saw Ethan battle his way back from cancer, to participate in this show that he loves, and fight every day facing his internal demons to prove his fight for survival. We saw a different side of Tyson, showing how much love he has for his kids and wife, and how much Survivor has really helped him find himself as a person. There were just so many great and touching moments which were nice to see outside of the strategy of the game. Of course, there were some absolutely hilarious moments this season, from Tony's ladder and spy nest, to Adam trying to play the podium as an idol. There were some iconic scenes which will go down in the history of the show. Tyson's other love outside of his family in Peanut Butter will not be forgotten, and contributed to his success in getting back in the game. Sarah's fashion show and witty relationship with Tyson was hilarious, to Ben and Michelle's dancing, to Tony and Jeremy's conversation about how many days in a week there are just too many to name, and they really are iconic moments in this crazy season. Now, whilst I don't believe this is necessarily the best season of Survivor ever for me, I still think it was a phenomenal season and truly historic in the game which has blessed so many of us over the past 20 years. Seeing 20 of the best of all time battle it out won't come around again anytime soon, so it was great to get a mix of not only high-level strategy, but also some heartfelt, funny, and really personal moments to take away from these amazing players. It will absolutely be a season to remember, and it will be iconic in Survivor history. And a massive, massive congratulations to Tony, the new greatest of all time of Survivor, for taking out the prize. I'm interested to hear what you guys thought of this season. Do you think it was the best ever? What do you think they have in store for season 41? Let me know down in the comments. Please support this channel by hitting that subscribe button, as it will allow this channel to grow with high quality content coming very, very soon. Thanks so much for watching. This is Analytical Strategy signing out once more, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.